around this is so wicked. Now they're going to, they released last night a memo that said that the FBI was investigating good. They're trying to come up with something on the victim. Not they gonna investigate who shot her. The ICE agent shooting in the head 3 times. They're gonna investigate her. And you wonder why we need movements. You wonder why we need to stand up. Hakeem Jeffries was here Monday. Why we need to deal with this midterm election. Well, Reverend, I get calls on my radio show every day. Well, I don't see where voting changed them. Well, all right, let me tell you where if they lose the Congress this year, where it changes. The Speaker would be Hakeem Jeffries, who grew up right here in Name, as he said on Monday. The Speaker decides then the calendar for the legislative session. The chairs of the committees become Democrats. So the Judiciary Committee, now watch this in the barbershop. The chair of the Judiciary Committee, y'all saw the Judiciary Committee have the hearing and brought in the special counsel yesterday. Well, the chair this time, if the Democrats win, would be a Democrat who could then subpoena the Attorney General Bondi, all of the folks that were involved in January 6th. They can subpoena the vice for all of them because you've got the power of the gavel. Wonder why nobody has asked Pence how he felt running for his life January 6th. Well, if you get the Judiciary Committee, you can subpoena Pence.
This is a defining moment. As our world faces urgent challenges, the movement comes together. National Action Network's 35th anniversary and convention, April 8th through the 11th. Leaders, activists, and community voices united for justice and change. The moment is now. Be in the room.
In London, yeah. We've got many problems here. We need you over our side. Yeah, you're invited anytime, please. Whenever you want to come.
There we go. Guys, what's up, Doc?
So we are in not a political dilemma, we are in a moral dilemma. And if the black church does not come with a prophetic voice, then who's going to do it? We can go through all the data, all the statistics, all we're going through in the workshops, but the question is, where is the action going to be? We all believe in Jesus. Jesus didn't teach theology, he healed people. And they learned the nature of the theology based on his healing. We've got to heal this nation. And if we heal this nation, the nation will return to our churches. But we've become silent and compromised. And we try to blame it on, I'm not in this. You are in this. You live it, your members live it. Unemployment now is higher now than it's been since the pandemic. Yet we survive.
Yes, sir.
There's no history in the world of any people that went through the kind of psychological, cultural, and physical slavery like blacks did in America. The only reason we're still here is because of our faith. We had no external strength. We had an internal strength. And it was the God that we were taught by our mamas and grandmamas that brought us through. And I don't care who's sitting in the White House, we cannot betray the God that brought us through.
Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back. 1-877-532-5797. 1-877-532-5797. Let's go back to the phone. Attorney Jennifer Jones Austin is. Every day, Monday through Friday, I do 3 hours a day on Keeping It Real with Reverend Al Sharpton. I do 1 hour on Sunday mornings with Reverend Al Sharpton. And I'm live on radio and TV with the Saturday Action Rally. 7 days a week, I talk to our people, hear from them, the call-in. I'm sick and tired of people talking for people that they don't talk to. So go on www.nationalactionnetwork.net. Listen to my show, call in, express your opinion. You don't have to agree with me. But let's start talking to each other rather than about each other and lecturing at each other. Let's keep it real with Sharpton.
Thank you for joining us for Weekdays Live with Reverend Al Sharpton. Take the time to share this broadcast right now. Tell your friends it's time to keep it real with Reverend Al. Comment your questions now in the chat or call Reverend Al Sharpton directly on air at 877-532-5797. Now stay tuned for Reverend Al.
This is Reverend Al Sharpton. As you watch the broadcast, support National Action Network. Go to www.nationalactionnetwork.net and be involved. You can join, take your membership right online, www.nationalactionnetwork.net. Getting ready to start the program, but we need you to be part of the movement.
So it's become almost an unhealthy habit how much I'm listening to Keep It Real, because it is the realest thing on the air anywhere, whether it be online or whether it be on the radio or wherever it's coming into you from, because there's no one of Rev's importance and caliber who is as dominant a media figure as he is, who allows people to speak at length, and who he treats with equal respect and admiration with every call, whether he agrees with you or not. And I'm not gonna throw shade at anybody, but there are a lot of people with big platforms like the Rev has who are afraid to talk to the people and who are afraid that the people will keep it real with them. And he never shies away from anything any of us want to talk to him about. And he doesn't shut you up. It's not a soundbite, it's a conversation. So I would like people in the media.
Reverend Al Sharpton is Hot Button Monday, first radio day of Women's History Month. And I want your top 3 women you most admire, either living, dead, in history. Let's kick this Women's History Month off talking about women that made a difference. Let me also say that it's interesting to me that even some of the Republicans, Rand Paul and others, are saying that Donald Trump has acted beyond the scope of the presidency and declaring war and deciding who's going to be the regime change in Iran. So it's a lot to talk about. And again, the Texas race tomorrow between Jasmine Crockett and the state representative James Tallarico, is one of the critical races we're looking at. So let's talk about all of it. Let me go right to the phones. Let's start the week off right with my friend, the beloved Miss Eunice. Miss Eunice, you're keeping it real with Al Sharpton.
Good afternoon, Rev. I'm sorry I didn't get to see you and family on Thursday. Will you be in town next week for the services?
Yes.
Okay, then maybe I get to see you then. You know, Rev, my heart is heavy over the loss of Reverend Jackson. 58 years in the organization. I say to take your rest, Rev, a job well done. And let us pray for Mrs. Jackson. I heard she couldn't finish the trip. She had to return home because she was ill.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so let's pray for her. And, you know, I think anyone who runs for president should be screened thoroughly behind Trump. It should teach all of us something. Here's a man who has 34 felons. He's a liar and accused of sex offenses against young women. How much further can you go? And the president holds the highest office and has our top secret. It is very dangerous what this man is doing. And he don't have no respect for life because he was saying we're going to lose more, all this kind of stuff. And Hegseth is rubber stamp everything that he says. And his own mother say he was a bad person, a drug, and he's abusing women and all that kind of stuff. We have got to stand up as never before. And this Women's Month, we've got to get out there, ladies, and do what we need to do and will do. And look forward to seeing you, Reverend. And you take care and say hello to Dominique for me.
I definitely will, and I plan to be back in Chicago with the family at the end of the week for the final celebration and services. Let me look for you. Make sure we get together at both services. Let me read on our message board. Donna Jenkins says, good afternoon, Reverend Sharpton. I listen to your program all the time. I learn a lot from Keeping It Real. Thank you for the word. Well, thank you for that. And then Minister Hood. Okay. Minister Hood, hello, Reverend Al Sharpton. How are you? This is Minister Hood, a.k.a. Mama Hood from Chicago. I know exactly who you are. We thank you for your strong involvement in helping and supporting the Jackson family where Reverend Jackson passed. Well, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. I grew up under them. They poured into me. You're supposed to get a return on that. I don't think anyone in terms of movement activism had more influence on my life and development than Reverend Jackson. And the family comes with it. It's a family affair. I grew up around Mrs. Jackson and the children. I remember when Yusef was born and Jackie Jr. They've known me all their lives. And Santita was about 5 or 6 years old, and Jesse Jr. about 4 when I became youth director for their father in New York. And I was only 13. I met him when I was 12. So they kind of knew me all their life. So I'm where I'm supposed to be. The Mayor Rodney Jones of Queensbridge houses in Queens, New York, says I was criticized for saying that black, brown men, women should not serve the military while this draft dodgers is in. I'm an Army veteran, and I felt in my spirit to say it. Okay, I don't know who, was it other veterans that said it? I don't know the context, but I read it. Let me go to Martise Chisholm. Said, good morning, Reverend Sharpton. Last Saturday we had our swearing-in ceremony at the Lorraine Motel in Memphis. We honored Reverend Jackson, and we pledged to continue to run this race. A woman I honor is Maxine Smith. She was the NAACP Memphis secretary, and she was NAACP secretary. She led the Black Monday boycotts after MLK was assassinated. Well, Martise is doing a great job working with Nan down there in Memphis and keeping me abreast. I love it. Thank you for your call. Let's go to the phone. Let me go to Brother Jacob in Philly. We're kicking off the week with Miss Eunice and Brother Jacob. This is going to be a good week.
Peace be unto you, Reverend Sharpton, and your worldwide listeners, man. You know, we going through so much, Rev, that, you know, one thing I want to say, Rev, you getting some rest, right?
Oh yeah.
I mean,
oh yeah.
Cause see, all right, we need you charged up, but we need you, okay?
Yes, sir.
But now you were speaking about the women, there's so many women that we could, especially among our people, that we could lift up. But the three that I would say right away, I would say Harriet Tubman, for one,
Right.
for her courage and what she did to free her people. I mean, risking her life that many times, to save her people, working for the American government as an officer in the Army, you know what I mean, that a lot of people don't even know. And the other one living, would be Letitia James.
Yep.
The one from New York who stood up to Trump, right?
Yep.
Didn't back down. That's what I'm talking about. And she reminds me of, I would have to say the third one would be my mama.
All right.
Because without my mama, I wouldn't even be here. You know what I mean?
Let's start with that. That's right.
Yeah, yes. But now, look, Reverend, by now, America should see what Trump is working with. I mean, he can't do no more than what he do to show. If people don't see what he working with now, I don't know what to say. I mean, the guy, when he opens his mouth, 99% of the stuff that he say is a lie that can be proven, right?
Right.
And, when I was in Bible study as a young boy, one of the first things they used to teach us, they used to say, the teacher would say, the devil is, and we would all have to say, a liar.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
That was one of our most elementary lessons, right? Now, to my white Christian American brothers and sisters, right? Are y'all reading the same Bible?
Wow.
I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Wow.
Look, we know what we're working with. We know what we got to do. Vote this man and his people out, right, Rev?
Absolutely, unequivocally right. Thank you for a good kickoff. It is Hot Button Monday, keeping it real. Sharpton. I'm going to take a break. I'll be right back.
So we just wanted to greet you all and thank you for allowing us in. Yes, sir. We was here.
They were on the plantation.
Our family was on the plantation. Wow. And that's the slave house. It's one of the slave houses.
Sir, it's been 13 years.
That's right.
Good to
How
see
you been?
Doing fine. Good.
Last time. And we,
Alexander Sharpton. How many slaves were staying there?
I have no idea.
This is where they would have a slave.
Yeah, that's when exactly. That was exactly. The two people
that most influenced my life was from South Carolina, James and Jesse. Jesse right up the road with me. I went over his mother's funeral. Jesse walked into my mother's casket.
Wow.
To South Carolina. That's the balance of my life, James and Jesse.
Yeah.
Civil rights, shoulders.
But also where your people come too.
Literally.
Yeah, right.
And when I knew Jesse was from James, I started Reverend.
Yeah.
And James had died before I knew about him in South Carolina.
Oh, really?
Yeah. James died December 25th. He died Christmas Day, 06. And they came to do the story for February of 07. They came in January. His daughter swear that was his daddy and him and pushing the information out.
Wow.
And I called Jesse and told me, you know that my great grandfather was a slave about 45, because Greenville right up to our 20. He said, I told you we was connected. That's why you gotta listen to me. But
So who is Al Sharpton anyway? Who is this 33-year-old preacher without a church?
A number of black New Yorkers as well. He is little more than a pudgy exhibitionist who can be counted on to show up, bullhorn in hand, at every racial incident.
I often quote Mark Twain saying, the two most important moments in life is the moment you are born and the moment you find out why you were born. I had a very troubling conversation the other day that prompted me to do this little video. Young man that I've known a while came to me and he was crushed. I mean, really crushed, because people were criticizing his work. He's in the ministry, but he's also an actor. And he said he couldn't understand why people were jumping all over, criticizing him, trying to find scandalous and derogatory things about him. And I told him, I said, you know, you very young. You don't know the road I've traveled. They called me everything but a child of God.
A blabbermouth, a loudmouth, too flamboyant, an agitator, a racist,
I
a race
had to
baiter.
learn.
Yeah, right.
I was not defined by how others saw me. I was defined by how I saw myself and whether I was being true to myself. Some of you watching this don't like me. And it doesn't matter as long as I know what I'm doing. And I like me for being real. So I'm doing this video to say to you, whoever you are and whatever you do, you may not be in ministry or social justice, none of this stuff, but don't live your life worried about opposition or people that don't like you. You can turn that around. Use me as an example. The same people that called me a scam artist, a con artist, a sellout, or racial hustler and all, I kept going. And the people I respected started respecting and publicly embracing my work.
When Coretta Scott King, the widow of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., had this to say about Al Sharpton.
A leader who has protested injustice with a passionate, unrelenting commitment to nonviolent action in the spirit and tradition of Martin Luther King Jr. And I am talking about your leader, our leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton.
The other thing that hasn't changed is the National Action Network's commitment to fight injustice and inequality here in New York City and across America. And that's not only a testament to Reverend Sharpton, it's a testament to all of you who are here tonight.
First and foremost, to Reverend Sharpton. I saw him when he first came on the scene, and I have marveled at his tenacity, at the development of his intellect, and his devotion to our movement, and much he has contributed to the world we are experiencing. I am honored, and I must say that when I had my debate with Dr. King on the issue of the church and religion, he didn't warn me that after his departure, his space would be filled by another preacher, and that preacher would be Al Sharpton.
All you want in life is people that matter to you to say you did all right. And more important, that you can look in the mirror and say you did all right.
You're live, sir.
Thank you, Rev.
Keeping it real. Keeping it real.
Known each other for a long time. Great
I'm
to
your
know
host.
Leadership and partnership.
Reverend Al Sharpton. Happiness Donuts is on the message board. And she's starting out I said, give me 3 women that you most admire. This is the beginning of Women History Month. And Happiness Donuts is saying more living queens I admire. Ruby Bridges, Michelle Obama, and Angela Davis. All right, those are 3 good ones. Historically is Harriet Tubman, Shirley Chisholm, and Ketanji Brown Jackson, first black woman put on the Supreme Court. Good choices, good choices. Let's go to Cleveland, Ohio, to Demetrius. Demetrius, you're keeping it real with hot button. With hot button Monday.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I just want to speak on a few topics. I believe, the invasion or the attack on Iran, is a political diversion. Also, I believe, Donald Trump and some of the other Republicans, they trying to cover up, that they might lose some seats in the midterm election. They try and get the people mind off the economy and off of other problems going on with this country, with ICE and so forth. So his main goal, same way with Israel, with Netanyahu, he's in a bad situation, his political situation at Israel. So I believe they both came together, to try to hold on to their power in office, and also I believe that, it's also the attempt just to take over Iran, economically control the oil fields, the same thing we use to exploit the people of Venezuela. And also it's dangerous, that they assassinated the religious leader, also the leader of the country, because he's not just a religious leader of Iran. He has followers in other countries like in Iraq and Pakistan, so it's going to cause problems, with people who follow him. They look at him as their almost close as their pope, and they're not going to forget that, and it's going to spill over to other countries, maybe here in the United States, because it's hard to fight against people when they have a religious faith in someone. They be willing to die for it,
right.
And it's going to carry on, and it's not going to be easily to control Iran, like he did with Venezuela. Let's say Iran is a big country. You already have infrastructure. You already have a parliament and so forth. And also other people in Iran, they don't agree with the United States attacking Iran. They just show on a United States media some of the people they think celebrating, but also thousands of people protesting in Iran because of what Donald Trump had done. So to me, it's just a bid to control the mineral resources of Iran. Don't really care about the people. If anyone in office, he wants that person to be someone who would assist him and the business people who backing him, to exploit their resources in Iran. But I don't believe the country's ever going to be conquered. Because like I said, the majority of people don't agree with it. Also about the killing of the religious leader, because that's going to cause problems down the line. And also, I believe...
Yeah, but I tell you one type of person that they don't worry about, and that is the ones that don't vote, because they volunteered to write them off. And I think that there are a lot of theories going around, and you appropriately said some. There was no announced strategy. I watched Hegseth today in the studio when I was there at MS Now, holding his press conference, announcing really nothing. I don't know how long they'd be there. If I knew, I wouldn't say. And there's a school of thought that says this was to get the Epstein files kicked back to the back pages of the media. This is enriching Trump with oil deals because the Saudis and others can come in and get some of those oil fields. Or it could be both. Demetrius, we may not have to choose one or the other. It may be all of that with Trump.
Yeah, I agree. You know, I believe it's all of those reasons can contribute, you know, to why he invaded, attacking Iran. But also, I believe he had this false belief in himself. You know, like he can go back to the time of Julius Caesar, you know, Alexander the Great, to attack countries because the United States have a strong military. You know, but you know he can't be an egomaniac and think because the United States have a strong military, he just can run over countries. You know, he has to come down to earth and realize that people in the other countries, they're not going to accept being conquered. You know, people have different weapons now. Back then, some countries had, you know, better spears or better fighting tactics. But countries nowadays, they have access to all that. They can't get it from one place. They can get guns from China. They can get guns from the Soviet Union. They get guns from other countries. Those countries can't be easily conquered, you know, like going back then. So, you know, you have to realize that. Also here in America as well, you know, but they want to turn the clock back. Can't turn the clock back because people are more educated. People is not going to accept being oppressed. You might have a few, you know, who would just look out for their own benefit, accept being second citizenship. But majority of people, it's not going to do that. You know, so they're going to stand up. There's only so much they can take, no matter what tactics those and some of those in power might try to use. So all they're going to do is just bring self-destruction to the country, you know, and they're going to cause people to suffer, not just the minority groups, but also other people in other groups, you know, because like I say, Donald Trump, to me, his main goal is to make money, and also he have this belief that he can do anything he wants. He brought it over with him when he ran his businesses. He's trying to run the country like a business. What he say goes, you know. But this is a democracy, you know. This have different states. People have rights to vote. You know, he don't have the right to try to take away people's votes. But people are not going to stand for their votes to be taken away. And those who instill that wealth and want to go back to different times, you know, like I say, it's not going to happen because people are going to stand up for their rights. You know, if it takes whatever it takes for them to keep their rights, they're not going to go back. You know, being second citizen, they're not going to be denied the vote. They're not going to be denied equal employment. They're not going to be denied a fair education in knowing the truth. You know, because it's going to all be somebody going to teach them the truth. It's up to those in this country to realize that those who want to keep people down, keep people for knowing the truth.
But what I think is missing, and that's why I think it's so important that people be at National Action Network's convention. I'm not saying it just because it's ours. It's the first kind of national convening, and we're going to have all of those prominent names there to address us. Because what I don't see is enough cohesive mobilization. Everybody's got an opinion here, opinion there, strategy here, strategy there. We need to all come together in a room. This is serious. This man, we got 3 more years with him. And if we don't come together and take the House this November, he gonna go buck wild, as they used to say. He's already done things that is illegal, the war in Iran, but he will go even more bizarre than that. We really, really need to take this seriously. Thank you for your call, Demetrius. Let me say by way of announcements, Politics Nation with Al Sharpton will be back on Saturday and Sunday live. We were preempted because of the war, but we will definitely be on this coming Saturday and Sunday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time on MS Now. Don't you miss it. And, of course, we'll be dealing then with the issues as they've come up this week. But I can guarantee you I'm going to be ripping into this whole Iran situation. And, of course, the Saturday Action Rally at the Saturday at our temporary place. We'll be there another couple of weeks, and that's at Mother AME Zion Church in Harlem, 137th Street between Lenox and 7th. National Action Network's National Convention is April the 8th through the 11th And we are right on the line of having to close registration. I'm waiting on the numbers because I'm trying to hold a few thousand sign-ins for the college students from our HBCU tour, as well as our NAN chapter. So you better sign up now, 'cause I may come on later today or tomorrow and say, we've hit 5,000, we can't take no more. Let's go to Rick. Well, let me take my break. I'll come back to Rick. Keeping it real. Hot Button Monday. Sharpton. Be right back.
London, yeah. We've got many problems here. We need you over our side. Yeah, you're invited anytime, please. Whenever you want to come.
There we go. Guys, what's up, Doc?
So we are in not a political dilemma, we are in a moral dilemma. And if the black church does not come with a prophetic voice, then who's going to do it? We can go through all the data, all the statistics, all we're going through in the workshops, but the question is, where is the action going to be? We all believe in Jesus. Jesus didn't teach theology, he healed people. And they learned the nature of the theology based on his healing. We've got to heal this nation. And if we heal this nation, the nation will return to our churches. But we've become silent and compromised. And we try to blame it on, I'm not in this. You are in this. You live it, your members live it. Unemployment now is higher now than it's been since the pandemic. Yet we survive.
Yes, sir.
There's no history in the world of any people that went through the kind of psychological, cultural, and physical slavery like blacks did in America. The only reason we're still here is because of our faith. We had no external strength. We had an internal strength. And it was the God that we were taught by our mamas and grandmamas that brought us through. And I don't care who's sitting in the White House, we cannot betray the God that brought us through.
That I want to end. He talked about the dry bones in the valley.
I'll tell you that.
The only reason that the wind could blow life into the bones is because at some point they had to be connected. If the wind had blown into a disconnected body, it still wouldn't have worked. So before he prophesied to the wind, they had to first get the foot bone to connect to the ankle bone, and the ankle bone to the calf bone, and to the knee bone, and the knee bone to the thigh bone. If we are to prophesy to the wind, we must first connect this body. We must connect Eddie Long to Farrakhan and Cornel West to Elders and Lowry to Sharpton. If we can connect this body, then God will blow the breath of life into our community. But as long as we are disconnected, the wind can't blow because it's blowing on disconnected dry bones. But the good news is that we're the children of people that been through worse than this, and we're still here. So even though I get despondent, I don't ever get depressed, because I want the world to know you won't beat us, because we're the children of those that took the worst form of slavery and brutality that ever lived, that ever existed. Our parents survived the Middle Passage. Only the strong got here, and then we lost our name, our culture, our religion, and we're still here. But you don't know who we are. We're the children of Chaka Zulu. We're the children of Mary McLeod Bethune. We're the children of Marcus Garvey. We're the children of Martin Luther King. We'll be here. We were first and we'll be last. We know who we are.
Hi, it's Reverend Sharpton, President and founder of National Action Network. We are at the very end of 2025, and I want to first say that I want to thank all of the officers, chapter leaders, regional directors, national staff, and certainly National Board of National Action Network for a solid and absolutely incredible year in 2025. Despite the fact that we are under assault, voting rights, diversity, equity, and inclusion, the battles globally where we're seeing Nigeria and Venezuela attacked, and on and on and on. We have been steadfast as an activist organization in the tradition of Dr. King. We started the year with a national call that thousands responded to, and we were in Washington on our side of town while Trump was being inaugurated on the other side of town. And we made a pledge. We told people to lift their hand and make the pledge. And we kept that pledge to work all year to keep the dream alive. And that led into when Trump went after DEI, we supported some that were boycotting, and we started boycotting, something that had never happened. We said we're going to go buy from those that have committed to keep DEI, and went in several cities around Costco's and Sharpton. We've now bought stock in other companies. We're going to shareholder meeting and demand they continue DEI. We've had a sensational National Action Network convention covering the span of activity, from political empowerment to education, to how we deal with the Black church, how we deal with Black women development that has to deal with both discrimination based on gender and race. And of course, we came to Wall Street by the thousands and marched in late summer on the anniversary of the March on Washington. And people thought you could not get people out, and they came from all over the country. And we marched on Wall Street and had an enormous turnout. The only mass Black march, Black-led march this year. We had a lot of protests, a lot of marches. I salute all No Kings marches and all. But the Black Organization March, it welcomed everybody. We had white, Black, everybody there. Was our march on Wall Street in August. And then our Triumph Award, and on into our fall agenda of organizing, mobilizing. We've expanded. We've started chapters in about 12 new cities. So I am proud of what we've done this year, but it's only the beginning, because our very rights are under attack, and they're not even being quiet about it. They want to revoke the Voting Rights Act. Section 2 may fall with this. They want to end the Civil Rights Act of 64. That's what the end of DEI is about. So let us be more alert and active than ever. History will decide whether the civil rights gains of the 50s and 60s died in the 2020s. That's on your watch and mine. So if we've got to march, we have to protest, we have to lobby, we have to rally, whatever we need to do, we need to put our shoulder to the wheel more than ever. I'm going to lay out a plan on King Day, both in Harlem at our annual event and in Washington at our annual Martin Luther King Day breakfast that we do in D.C. We do cities that day. And then, of course, all roads lead to New York, April for our convention. We had, as I said, the largest attendance convention last year in 2025. It needs to be more this year because our very existence is at stake. We also are closing our negotiations on a new headquarters, our national headquarters.
Reverend
I'm excited about it. But keeping it real, keeping it real. I am your host, Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back. It's Hot Button Monday, 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797, and we're joined, as we are the beginning of every week, with the one and only political strategist and commentator, the founder and CEO of Blueprint Strategies, LLC, Antoine Seawright. How you doing, Antoine?
I'm doing well, Reverend Al, and on this very consequential Monday, and as you know, your friend and mentor, the late Reverend Jesse Jackson, is laying in the state capitol in my home state of South Carolina. Certainly a historic day and a monumental day. And as I said to you via text, as so many of our champions and leaders transition, I want you to hear from me publicly what I've said to you privately. Don't get tired, Reverend Al Sharpton. This country, our community, the movement, and our people need your voice, need your spirit, need your guidance, and need you to continue to be our GPS.
Well, I'm definitely going to try to do the best I can. I think Reverend Jackson poured a lot into me, and I owe it to him to try to work with others to continue to work. And I see a couple of people on our live stream that are there. Sun Cam 57 says prayers sent to the Jacksons. Jesse Jr. posted a poignant photo of South Carolina trooper cleaning the windshield of the hearse. Some of my family members are in Columbia now paying respects to Reverend Jackson. Well, that's great, Sun Cam. You know, it's interesting, Antoine, you're from South Carolina. My folks I found out were slaves in Edgefield, South Carolina, my great-grandfather. And I used to spend a lot of time with James Brown, whose estate was in Beach Island, South Carolina, right over the bridge from Augusta, Georgia. And I spent time, of course, with Reverend Jackson. He's from Greenville. And what I thought about is how Reverend Jackson used to always tell us that when he was growing up, blacks could not go on the lawn at the state capitol against the law, that blacks could even go on the lawn. And now he's laying that stake in the state capitol, which shows again how far the movements he was involved in came, to where we look at stuff like that and take it for granted. Well, that ain't no big thing. It's a big thing if everybody can go to state capitol and you can't, and you pay and state the same thing everybody else pays in the state in terms of taxes and property tax and all that. So the trajectory of his life also shows the progress of the movement that he was one of the stalwart leaders in, and that should not be taken for granted.
Well, Rev, I'll tell you this, only 2 times in the last 150 years that someone has laid in that capital as Jesse Jackson is doing today, and the other person was the late Clemente Pinckney, who, as you know, was killed in a massacre by white supremacists and white nationalists. And that just speaks to not only their death, but also their life. And what I appreciate the most about Reverend Jackson, one of my last interactions with him, in fact, it was in New York, in a hotel. I think you and him had just finished, ironically, having breakfast. But he said, our flag is red, white, and blue, but our nation is a rainbow. Yellow, red, yellow, brown, black, and white, and we're all precious in God's sight. And, I told him I was from South Carolina, jogged his memory on some of my family members, and that's what he said to me. And that's one of the memories I will never forget in my life. And so I'm thankful for our governor, who I don't always agree with. In fact, 99% of the time do not agree with, but having the balls and the steel spine to say, I don't care what Johnson is doing, I don't care what the internet is saying, we're going to honor a son of the segregated South and a son of South Carolina in the way he should be honored.
Yeah, I think that's true. And I see on the message board someone saying, pray for Mrs. Jackson, who, became ill during the first leg of the trip, and they brought her back to Chicago, canceled the memorial, the services in Washington, and she'll be with us Friday and Saturday for the last two services. While we were dealing with Reverend Jackson, Antoine, we see the attack in Iran, unauthorized, no heads up, and clearly calling for regime change, then sending mixed signals. 1 minute he wants regime change, the next minute he'll talk to somebody. Who could that somebody be if there's nobody in charge? Killed the Supreme Leader Khomeini. No one a big fan of Khomeini, but same thing with Venezuela. We wasn't a big fan of Maduro, but did he have the right to just grab Maduro? And there seems to be a straight line between what we see in Venezuela and what we see in the state of Iran. Is they're all oil rich, and destabilizing those governments. One would have to not be considered paranoid to say, does it have something to do with your oil buddies?
Well, Rev, I found a couple things to be ironic, and my grandma would say something in the milk just ain't clean about a lot of this. I'll start with how the president and others continue to mention Jared Kushner's name as if he is somehow or another a part of this administration or is in the national security space advising the president on Middle Eastern matters. And we all know he had $1 billion loan or so forth from Saudi Arabia, one of those countries. I find that to be ironic. Number two, I find it to be ironic that the president, as you pointed out, did not consult with the Congress before his actions in Iran. The third thing I find that to be ironic is that this is supposed to be an America First president who was so declarative about no more wars and all these other things, and a lot of people bought into the idea, but yet we found ourselves picking and papping at every single potential conflict we can, other than trying to stabilize, we find ourselves trying to get into conflicts. Lastly, I find it to be ironic that this president was so intentional about destroying the agreement that Barack Obama had put in place that would have kept Iran from getting a nuclear weapon. And now we're at war for the sake of trying to keep Iran from getting a nuclear weapon. And so I found a few things to be ironic. I certainly found the timing to be ironic. Last week he was talking about not having an election. The week before that he was talking about nationalizing election. We know when a country is in war, a president has the ability to decide whether or not to have an election. I find all of these things to be ironic and run together very smoothly for the sake of benefiting Donald Trump.
Yeah, ironic is a nice way to put it. Let me ask you, and I'm going to the phones, but I need you to put on your day job hat, Democratic strategist. Break down what are we looking at, the possibilities, pro and con, in Texas tomorrow, in Arkansas tomorrow, and North Carolina tomorrow, 3 states with primaries.
Well, in North Carolina, which is the one that's on my heart and my mind, Valerie Fouché, Congressional Black Caucus member, is in a very hotly contested primary by a Justice Democrat or a progressive that Bernie Sanders and others in the white progressive movement have endorsed. So certainly we're watching that race very, very closely. That could have some implications on what kind of caucus leader Speaker Jeffries will perhaps have to lead if and when we take the majority in November. Certainly we're looking at Texas and the Senate primary, both on the Democratic side and the Republican side. Of course, Jasmine Crockett and James Tallarico are in a hotly contested primary. I would make the assumption that black and brown people are going to make the majority of the turnout. Tallarico has been endorsed by some unusual partners and unusual suspects, including the white progressive movement. So we'll see what that actually means in terms of turnout.
And not only got endorsements from the white progressives, and it's supposed to be a big youth turnout, understand early voting, even though there's been a huge black turnout, he's also got AIPAC money.
AIPAC money, and so we're going to actually see what that means, and if that translates to success at the ballot box. Certainly, I think there will be some much needed repair work, regardless of how that primary plays out. And so we're watching for not just who wins, but we're watching for the type of turnout that will happen. And then on the other side of the Texas race, the very hotly contested Republican senatorial primary, where Ken Paxton is potentially favored to come out on top. We'll see what happens. If that's the case, he will certainly be politically bloody and limping into the general election, which gives Democrats an opportunity to have a big upset in Texas. You mentioned Arkansas. Of course, people like to write off the South, but I believe that we need to include the South if we want to take this country back. So we'll see what happens in terms of base turnout. What I am hopeful as it relates to tomorrow, Reverend Al, is that we see a continual surge and uplifting in black and brown turnout across the country. But we also see some of our white friends show themselves to vote in Democratic primaries because they are not happy with the type of leadership we're seeing by the folks in charge.
All right, let's get ready to take a break, and we'll come right back, go right to the phones. It's Hot Button Monday, first work day of Women's History Month. Give me 3 women in history that all contemporary, that means much to you, that you want to salute them on this day. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. 1-877-532-5797. Or go on the message board at nationalactionnetwork.net. We'll be right back. Sharpton, see right. Hot Button Monday.
I want to talk to you. I want to talk to you. Just wait. I believe that.
Good morning, everybody. I hope the coffee has kicked in by now. I want to start by thanking your leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton, and everyone at the National Action Network for 35 years of standing up for civil rights and opportunity for everyone.
And I couldn't be more grateful for the way that you have blessed the lives of so many, including mine.
As we look today on King Day, let us not forget that we had to struggle to even have this day. They did not wake up one morning and say, let's give a federal holiday to Martin Luther King. People petitioned. People marched. Let us remember now, as we bring our children and grandchildren up the Potomac, that they can see the Washington Monument, the Lincoln Memorial, the Jefferson Memorial, and one memorial that never served as president, but changed this country more than any other American, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
This was an amazing MLK breakfast.
It is truly an honor, and more importantly, this is an important day for us.
I feel incredibly lucky and honored to be in this room on this day, celebrating Dr. King's legacy of civil rights, especially in the moment that we're facing on a national level. It feels like warmth and home being in this room.
So I'm encouraged by today. I'm encouraged that we're getting out, we're protesting, but more needs to be done. We need to lean in.
And let's keep fighting, because the job is not done here. And I just feel so honored to get this award. It's not about getting an award, it's about doing the work. And let's keep up with the work.
But the fact fact of the matter is, Rosa Parks was not only the mother of the modern civil rights movement, she was the mother of this nation. Why would you say that, Sharpton? Because you called George Washington the father of the nation, but when he became father, we wasn't included in the nation. Women were not included in the nation. The first time we had a parent in this nation is when all of us was included, and Rosa Parks did that on December 1st, 1955. I heard somebody say Jim Crow is who she fought, and Jim Crow is still around. But Jim Crow is old. That's not who I'm mindful of today. The problem is Jim Crow has sons. The one we got to battle is James Crow Jr. Esquire. He's a little more educated. He's a little slicker. He's a little more polished. But the results are the same. He doesn't put you in the back of the bus. He just puts referendums on the ballot to end affirmative action when you can't go to school. He doesn't call you erase your name. He just marginalizes your existence. He doesn't tell you that he's set against you. He sets up institutional racism, where you have a nation respond looking for weapons in Iraq that are not there, but can't see a hurricane in Louisiana that is there. James Crow Jr. Esquire. That's who we got to fight. And if we are to win, if we are to really memorialize Rosa Parks, she would tell us to do in the generation of his son what she and Dr. King did to his daddy. They didn't talk a fight, they fought the fight. They didn't show up at funerals, they showed up on the picket line and the march line and the jailhouse. It amazes me that we sit there acting like we don't have work to do. And that many of us in our own community are mocking her memory. They formed a movement when they had none of what we got. You realize that Dr. King and Dr. Abernathy and them formed a boycott after Rosa Parks, where people stayed off the bus for a year, went to rallies every night, and they never had email, never had a cell phone, never could go online. Here you got 2 cell phones in your pocket, emails, computers at the house, and can't even get a block association meeting together. We've got so much more that they gave us, and we're doing so much less with it. They went to vote when people were threatening their lives. Medgar Evers was shot dead in his driveway, left 3 children inside that never knew how it was to have a father in their adult years, died to give us the right to vote. Pregnant women marched through the streets of Birmingham. They sick police dogs on them to give us the right to vote. 4 little girls bombed in a church in Birmingham, Alabama to give us the right to vote. And here you are 40 years later in Detroit, Michigan. No dogs biting you, no bombs going off, no bullets, too lazy and ungrateful. Making mockery of her memory. Making mockery of her memory. Nobody should have to beg you to vote. Nobody should have to beg you to stand up and protect the rights that they died and suffered to give us? You can't take care of one thing on the ballot in Michigan when they had to change the laws of all 50 states? You complaining about one referendum when they did a whole revolution and never fired one shot. And then you're turning around on each other. Why do I want my daughters to visit that stone? Because I want them to know black women are not hoes. You have music companies selling misogynist records to our children. Black womanhood was Rosa Parks sitting in dignity. She wasn't break dancing. She wasn't talking about pimp me out. She made the world respect her people. So I want to thank Reverend Jackson and Mrs. Jackson and others that taught us a little younger who Rosa was, and we got to pass that on. I want to challenge everybody here today that when we leave here, you ought to make a Rosa resolution. You ought to make one commitment in her name to yourself. That you're going to either join some organization or you're going to stand for some policy. You ought to make a Rosa resolution. You ought to resolve that you're going to do something that'll make a difference because we're here because she made a difference. Most people come and go and we never come to say goodbye because their hellos didn't mean anything to us. But we're here because she touched every one of us. And we need to make a Rosa resolution. I said to some of the young rappers the other day talking to me about, well, you get on us about calling women out their names. I said you need to come and know the story of a dignified
Keeping it real.
They make the excuse, man, to Patrick say, well, you know.
I am your host, Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back. Antoine Seawright is our co-host. Let's go right to the phone. Let's go to Germany to Rick. Rick, you're keeping it real with Al Sharpton and Antoine Seawright.
Good day, Brother Sharpton. Good day, Brother Antoine Seawright. First, let me give you my three women for Women's History Month. And they are as follows. Angela Davis, as an activist in the streets and a writer for those who read. There's Donna Brazile. There are various women in the phone book listed as Donna Brazile with various spellings. But I'm talking about the black woman Democrat, the black woman player among the Democrats, who rallied not only many black women to vote, but also a few black men and many members of the gay community as well. And third, sister physician, medical doctor with twin daughters who followed in her footsteps and became doctors. Physician Dr. Dale Gloria Blackstock, whom is listed as dying of leukemia, but who I believe was poisoned by members of the intelligence community because she was just too strong as a black woman and a black physician, pointing out racism in medicine there in America in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. That's my three women. After this phone call, it's time for me to drop the mic. I've suffered the death of a father and mother-in-law, and I have my own health challenges due to a CIA assault. And it's also a time when Trump seems to have been watching President Biden shut down the war in Afghanistan as if that was a clear message that it was okay to go to war in Iran for the next president himself. It's a very sensitive time there in America and around the world. Climate change, the environment, so forth and so on. But lastly, I want to say, you guys talked about Trump going to war without notifying Congress. Well, I say to you that there are acts of Congress, not only the Patriot Act, but including the Patriot Act, which nullifies the balance of power there in the U.S. government. And if you don't deal with those acts of Congress that give the president quite a bit of power, then you're not going to really do justice to bringing the Constitution back online and bringing the Constitution into the 20th and 21st century, reforming the Constitution, so to speak. Gentlemen, I'm done.
All right, thank you for your call. The Patriot Act is certainly something you can debate on whether it covers his unilateral action in Venezuela and in Iran. I would argue that that would have to be argued in the Congress and voted on by those in Congress. It does not give him a route around the Congress. And I clearly know some of the members of the House and the Senate that would say that the Patriot Act does not apply to either what he's done in Venezuela and what he's presently doing in Iran. And he has not been compelled to lay out what is his plans for either. Notice that he grabbed Maduro and his wife, put them in jail. They're here right near us here in New York City. They're out in Brooklyn Federal Penitentiary. And there's been no new leadership in Venezuela. He's out there with the vice president. So if the regime of Maduro was corrupt, then how do you normalize you deal with number two unless number two is giving you what you want? You say at a press conference, in both cases I'm referring to Trump, you say at a press conference you're willing to talk to who in Iran? Talk to who if you killed the supreme leader and the top leaders there, unless you're saying you're willing to talk to whoever you can deal with there in terms of the oil. So I think that he'd have a hard-pressed case to use the justification of the Patriot Act and explaining why we are there, and they just coincidentally, Antoine, are oil-rich countries.
Well, you know, if it barks and it walks on four, it's usually a dog, and I think you gave us all the reasons of why it's a dog. But, Rev, here's the point that I think Americans are missing in all this, and here's what I think part of what the Republican majority in Congress are missing in all this. One, he continues to ignore them and their power, their oversight power granted to them by the Constitution. But secondly, what happens when Donald Trump leaves that office? We're doing all this invading, we're taking over countries and so forth, and that's why I keep going back to 2 points, Rev, and I know people get sick of me saying this. 2 points. One, he's trying to stop us from having an election. Two, this does not seem like activities of someone who is planning to leave the job when the time expires on the job. And so we've got to be very intentional and pay a lot of attention to his moves and his language as he further transitions to what most presidents would be considered lame duck.
No question about it. And I do not doubt that he would do anything he could to try to stop this election, which is why we're going to be spending a lot of time in these next 30 days putting the things in place to counter that. I think that, and certainly that's going to be highlighted in National Action Network's convention. But that is going to be the whole point. I keep saying to people that calling me, giving their condolences about Reverend Jackson, don't mourn him, move on what he would want us to do. And I think that that's appropriate. Tricia 1989 says on our message board, Senator Angela also Brooks flew to Dallas to help Representative Crockett's campaign. It's a shame people she went around the country to campaign for won't get out here and hold a GOTV rally. Happiness Donuts. And I think it is a shame. I think, I first met Jasmine Crockett when when she was in the state legislature, and they all fled the state so they wouldn't have the quorum for a vote. And she was in Washington. She went with Martin III and I one King holiday with some of her colleagues. So she's been an activist, lawyer, state legislator, and Congress, bold and on point. And I think that she did travel all over this country helping people. But at the end of the day, the people that's going to matter is the people that vote in the election tomorrow. And I think you said it correct, Antoine, that you cannot explain to me why the progressives and the youth are doing her opponent. And that's why I've always raised the question when they say we are the progressives. Progressive for who? Who determines your progress? Because what may be progressive to you may be regressive to me. And I think that some of our people get swept up in the verb rather than, wait a minute, what does this mean? And I, for one, am not looking for a better slave master. I'm looking for freedom. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. Keeping it real. Sharpton. Be right back. Matt.
So it's become almost an unhealthy habit how much I'm listening to Keep It Real, because it is the realest thing on the air anywhere, whether it be online or whether it be on the radio or wherever it's coming into you from, because there's no one of Rev's importance and caliber who is as dominant a media figure as he is, who allows people to speak at length, and who he treats with equal respect and admiration with every call, whether he agrees with you or not. And I'm not going to throw shade at anybody, but there are a lot of people with big platforms like the Rev has who are afraid to talk to the people and who are afraid that the people will keep it real with them. And he never shies away from anything any of us want to talk to him about. And he doesn't shut you up. It's not a soundbite, it's a conversation. So I would like people in media to learn from this man who is carrying MLK's torch. Don't be afraid of people. Listen to them, respect them, and stand in God and stand in truth. Thank you, Nan. Thank you, Rev. Thank you, everybody who puts this together and sends it out across the world, because we need much more of it. Bless you.
In Memphis, Tennessee. And it has been the commitment of National Action Network to always, in the month he to let them know they killed the dream.
Because I have a dream today.
Rev, you know, you were right there
from the beginning
with the stuff that was going on in Brooklyn at that time, at Howard Beach. You were right there.
He had in one of the early movies, he had my name. Then he put me in Malcolm, but I wasn't even old enough to know Malcolm. We've been through it all.
For those who see Malcolm X, it's 3 hours. But fast forward to the scene with yourself, Bobby Seale.
Right. Bobby Seale, Denzel, and me.
Yeah.
Denzel was on the set.
Now, let me ask a question. What was your weight on that scene?
I probably about 270. I was bigger then.
Yeah.
Still had the hair, man.
Yeah, you had the hair on.
Yeah, it was
Denzel, yourself, and Bobby Seale.
Yeah, all in one scene.
And also, there was no cut. So we went like this.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Only Spike could have done that.
It's my brother right here.
My baby.
Brooklyn's in the house.
Yes, sir.
Brooklyn's in the house.
BK. I had a thought this morning that I wanted to share with you about mentorship. I am able to do a lot of what I do because I had great mentors, but there are correct ways and incorrect ways to mentor people, in my opinion. I was mentored as a boy preacher by Bishop F.D. Washington, one of the great Pentecostal preachers of his time. Then Reverend William Jones, who became my pastor after Bishop Washington died, who was unquestionably in the top 5 black church ministers, theologians. Reverend Jesse Jackson, who I started my activism under his leadership, he and Reverend Jones. And I learned politics directly as a youth director from Shirley Chisholm. So even though I didn't finish college, I had the most unique education in the world from being exposed to giants. But the one thing I learned is as I grew older and people started coming younger than me and wanted me to teach and mentor them, the magic of the mentors I had is they did not want me to be their clone. They wanted me to learn things from them and use my own gifts and talents in my own unique way and let me do things on my own, because they knew that if I flopped in some things, it would teach me for the other things. They'll come and help me once I was down, but they were not going to have me avoid being down. And they were not going to impose themselves on me. Why am I saying that? Because too many mentors want clones, and too many mentees want their mentors to put them on a pedestal. Oh, so-and-so didn't do this for me. Oh, so-and-so didn't open doors for me. If they got to open doors for you, it may mean that they knew you weren't ready to go through those doors. Their job is to prepare you. Your job is to develop your own skills, your own unique ways. And I don't care if it's my daughters, who both have come into their own, or anyone else. I'm not a talent agent. I did not form National Action Network to give people their step up. I formed it to fight for justice for everybody. If talented people get in, it's my job to invest and give them a platform. It's their job to get on the platform and perform and show their ability. Sitting with me today in the office as I talk about is one of my mentees, Reverend Stephen Marshall. Now, Stephen, you just came around us when you were how old?
11 years old.
11 years old. You just turned 40, and now you call it a ministry?
Yes, sir.
And what do you do in National Action Network?
I formulate policies, lead in various regions, but most importantly, I senior advise at you on all things from social justice strategies, politics, intergovernmental affairs, you name it, community organizing, all of that stuff.
And I could go through scores of others. My daughter started Huddle. They got Huddles now, which is for young people to meet once a week all over the country. I just saw the video from the law. Keeping it real, keeping it real. I'm your host, Reverend Al Sharpton. Antoine Seawright is our co-host. One of the things that you alluded to, Antoine, I'm going back to the phones, but I think you should elaborate a minute, is that there are some in the name of progressivism or being woke, and I resent folks telling me who's woke and who's asleep and how they define that. You know, talking about Reverend Jackson, he used to always say to us coming up, whoever defines you can confine you. You got to be careful about who you let define you. But some of the woke crowd is saying they are running to unseat some of the incumbent Democrats to vote against Hakeem Jeffries being Speaker. Not saying why they don't want Hakeem, not saying who they would have instead of Hakeem, and whether these people are anywhere near being able to get the vote of Hakeem. Talk to us about that, Antoine.
Well, Rev, I find it to be ironic. I find it to be frustrating and somewhat, and I don't want to go too far in this program, but I find it to be a little bit racial that somehow or another these progressives always seem to find themselves in Democratic primaries against CBC members. I gave you the example of North Carolina. We saw what happened with Chantel Brown. A couple of years ago, they push either black candidates or either candidates always go against CBC members. I find that to be ironic. I also find it to be ironic that somehow or another that they can't seem to win a general election, but they seem to think that they have the solutions to America's problems, to Democratic politics problems. If they were so solution-oriented, then they would have been a presidential nominee by now. They would have won some of these competitive seats by now, and some other things would have been a lot different. And so when people come to me and say they're progressive, I say, well, I'm black, so I've always been progressive. I'm just pragmatic with my approach. Number one. Number two, you can't think you're out progressive. You can't think you're more progressive than me or my people, considering our journey in this country. Thirdly, tell me, when have you won a competitive general election seat in terms of helping us get the majority, whether it's in the House, the Senate, gubernatorial race, et cetera, in a place where you need Republicans and independents to also give you that support? And so as we move forward and as we figure out who we want to be as Democrats, I think it's going to be critically important that we draw a line in the sand and say you can be progressive and you can think progressive, but however, you can also be inclusive and challenging CBC members who are doing a good job, by the way, like Valerie Foushee in North Carolina, and trying to weed away support from folks like Jasmine Crockett and others in competitive races. That doesn't help our cause overall.
Absolutely. And part of what, and the reason I asked you that, part of the reason that I'm very concerned is, unlike you and a few others, they are seemingly intimidated by people. I'm progressive. We represent the new thing, And rather than take them on, I can't remember a time in my activist career, and I started at 12, there wasn't always some other folks more militant, more progressive, more whatever, and they come and they go, and they usually form no permanent anything, but they are a permanent headache. And they always want to fight those that are out front, whether it be elected officials or whomever. They fought Dr. King, fought Reverend Jackson, and on and on and on. And I think that a lot of us give them too much of a pass. The run-ins they have had with me has not escalated because I'm not scared, because I tell them all, you looking for a fight, come to my house first. I like a fight. I get up in the morning and beat up the pillow. I mean, it doesn't matter to me. I'm not scared of you, because a lot of their premise is based on intimidation. And a lot of them got trust fund kids in college and all that, going to be all revolutionary, and then they'll go down to Wall Street and get a job. I come out of New York, I've seen that happen too many times to be intimidated. Let's go to Ray in Cincinnati, Ohio. It's Hot Button Monday. Ray, you're keeping it real with Sharpton and C-Right.
Yes, sir. Thanks for taking my call, Rev. I know here in Cincinnati, prices of gas went up like 50, 60, 70 cents a gallon within 24 hours.
Already.
And if Donald Trump think that and his crew think that that's not going to affect the midterms, they got enough thing coming. But Rev, let me say this: would you put it past Donald Trump to start this war because of what happened last week, where they found out that he was sexually assaulting allegedly a 13-year-old? It's almost like he is the master of deflection. First, they were talking about his third term, and then he was talking about Greenland, and then Venezuela, and now this 13-year-old he was supposed to have been with and then hit. So like I said, Donald Trump, he couldn't do a better job of destroying this country if he wanted to. It's almost like he's a double agent or something. Let's just destroy America. But I tell you, who's coming down on it is Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's not holding any punches. She's not for Trump anymore, and she's letting it be known. But what I can't understand, Rev, is that you got Iran, you got half the country. It's almost like here in the United States, half of them want a democracy, and the other half want a dictatorship. It's like here in the United States, you vote for Trump, you vote for a dictator. And if 25-30% of USA Americans want Donald Trump, they want a dictatorship. That I can't, after never having a dictatorship, why would you all of a sudden want one? And this is for your guess. It seems like that every election comes down to the young vote. Now, when you say the young vote, are you talking about 18 to 30, or are you talking about 30 to 50? I know you could put 18 to 50, but what's considered the young vote that they pay attention and are engaged in politics enough to know the difference between a Donald Trump and what he's trying to do, and a Democrat. So what do you?
Well, let me say this. And thank you for your call. Let me say this, and you can respond as well, Antoine. First of all, I am convinced that you are right, that they are basically, saying whatever they're saying, and half the country may not even want a democracy, or a large percentage. The issue for me is not what half the country want, is what we want. Half the country was, more than half was for slavery. More than half was for segregation. So you don't gauge your voting, or your mobilizing voting, or your organized voting, or your organized whatever activism you're going to do based on what they want. It's based on what you will allow them to do to you. Dr. King used to say there are two types of leaders. There are thermometers and there are thermostats. Thermometers tell you the temperature in the room. Thermostats change the temperature in the room. I come out the thermostat tradition. I believe in turning up the heat, because when you turn the heat up as a thermostat, people start sweating that was chilling. And I think that we spend too much time trying to wonder what we can convince them of, rather than to energize and mobilize our base and back them up, because they had never been on our side, and I don't think they ever will be. The question is, are we on our own side? Antoine?
Rev, I think you got it right, and as it relates to the quote-unquote young vote, I don't say youth vote because youth is a T-shirt size, but when it comes to young vote, let's just say 18 to 64, because they still are the young at heart. I don't think we need to put caps on age. I think that we need la-di-da-di and everybody to this voting party if we want to take our country back and if we want to continue making progress in our community. Sometimes we try to put divisive fences up around us and within our own community and ecosystem for the sake of checking boxes, but we need to be more inclusive and expansive and take the guardrails down.
Now, is there a runoff possible in the Democratic? Is it winner take all, or you have to get 50% in the Democratic primary in Texas? I'm asking Antoine if you know.
I think there's a runoff scenario, Reverend, but don't quote me on that.
All right, I know it is on the Republican side. I don't know on the Democratic side.
That's what I was just about to say on the Republican side for sure, but I don't know about the Democratic side.
All right, let's take a break. We'll be right back. Keeping it real. Sharpton. C. Wright. 1-877-532-5797. Be right back. Hi, it's Reverend Al Sharpton, President and founder of National Action Network. We are at the very end of 2025, and I want to first say that I want to thank all of the officers, chapter leaders, regional directors, national staff, and certainly National Board of National Action Network for a solid and absolutely incredible year in 2025. Despite the fact that we are under assault, voting rights, diversity, equity, and inclusion, the battles globally where we're seeing Nigeria and Venezuela attacked, and on and on and on. We have been steadfast as an activist organization in the tradition of Dr. King. We started the year with a national call that thousands responded to, and we were in Washington on our side of town while Trump was being inaugurated on the other side of town. And we made a pledge. We told people to lift their hand and make the pledge. And we kept that pledge to work all year to keep the dream alive. And that led into when Trump went after DEI, we supported some that were boycotting, and we started boycotting, something that had never happened. We said we're going to go buy from those that have committed to keep DEI, and went in several cities around Costco's and Sharpton. We've now bought stock in other companies. We're going to shareholder meeting and demand they continue DEI. We've had a sensational National Action Network convention covering the span of activity, from political empowerment to education, to how we deal with the black church, how we deal with black women development that has to deal with both discrimination based on gender and race. And of course, we came to Wall Street by the thousands and marched in late summer on the anniversary of the March on Washington. And people thought you could not get people out, and they came from all over the country. And we marched on Wall Street and had an enormous turnout. The only mass black march, black-led march this year. We had a lot of protests, a lot of marches. I salute all No Kings marches and all. But the black organization march, it welcomed everybody. We had white, black, everybody there. Was our march on Wall Street in August. And then our Triumph Award and on into our fall agenda of organizing, mobilizing. We've expanded. We've started chapters in about 12 new cities. So I am proud of what we've done this year, but it's only the beginning. because our very rights are under attack, and they're not even being quiet about it. They want to revoke the Voting Rights Act. Section 2 may fall with this agreement. They want to end the Civil Rights Act of 64. That's what the end of DEI is about. So let us be more alert and active than ever. History will decide whether the civil rights gains of the 50s and 60s died in the 2020s. That's on your watch and mine. So if we've got to march, we have to protest, we have to lobby, and we have to rally, whatever we need to do, we need to put our shoulder to the wheel more than ever. I'm going to lay out a plan on King Day, both in Harlem at our annual event and in Washington at our annual Martin Luther King Day breakfast that we do in D.C., in two cities that day. And then, of course, all roads lead to New York paper for our convention. We had, as I said, the largest attendance convention last year. In 2025, it needs to be more this year because our very existence is at stake. We also are closing our negotiations on a new headquarters, our national headquarters that befit our mission. I'm so excited about it, but I can't give you details. We're just about ready to sign the contract, but it will be something that will last longer than many of our lifetimes. So we came alive in 25, despite a hostile administration, despite the fact that a lot of people were intimidated and spooked into silence. We came alive in 25. Now we have to straighten out tricks in 26. I need you, we need each other. Let's do this. All these tricks, don't forget, Trump only won by 1.5%. He is trying to act like he has a mandate. No, he has a mission, Project 2025. We have the mandate that we can't let them undo what has been done. And we must even go further for the empowerment of all people. Happy New Year. And be focused.
Hello, New Orleans. Let me tell you straight, they did not think we could come and be here tonight. They cut budgets and advertising, but one black man, Rich New Dennis, said, I don't care, my families come together every 4th of July weekend, and essence will happen, because that's who we are. Give a big hand to Rich New Dennis for bringing us back. Why do we come? Because the essence of who we are is essential to what made this nation. We built this nation. We made this nation. We created the essential dollars that this nation lives off of. We don't care what bill they pass. We will not back up. We will not back down. We will not give in. We will not be chased out. We don't care who's in the White House. We will organize our house by house. We came over the Middle Passage. We survived slavery. We survived Jim Crow. Don't you give up now. Don't you turn back now. Stand up, black man. Stand up, black woman. Reclaim your dignity. Reclaim your place. So we stand with the Global Black Economic Forum. We stand with Essence Magazine because that's who we are. So don't give in now. Yes, it's some rough days, but we've been through rougher days than this. Yes, Trump is a bad dude, but we beat badder dudes than Trump.
a purpose, because our rhythm and our music reminds us who we are, because we can smile through our pain and organize for our gain. Let's stand up and let's celebrate who we are. Thank you, God bless you. Some of you forget where you come from and forget how you got there and act like you got there because you were qualified or that you had a good resume. But some of us had to pay a price for your resume to even be read. Some of us had to take nights in jails and licks upside the head or shut out of boardrooms like Byron so you could walk down red carpets and act like you got there by yourself. So I received this award with a special place in my heart and on my shelf because I'm getting it from a freedom fighter who never forgot where he came from and how he got there. Yes, we've come a long way. We've had now a black president and now a black vice president. But we still can get shot down and have to march to get a case in court. We still can get shut out of boardrooms. We're still doubly unemployed in a good economy. So we're going to have to keep marching. And I thank not only my family, a mother that raised me by herself, but I thank that lady at the end of the march that knows she won't be on TV that night and knows her name will never be in the paper, but she believed in me enough to get at the end of the line and make me look good. Because Dr. King used to say, if you call a march and no one shows up,
Keep it real. Keep it real. I'm your host, Reverend Al Sharpton. Antoine Seawright is our co-pilot. Opens up the week every Monday as our co-host. 1-877-532-5797. And you can also go on the message board at nationalactionnetwork.net. And, of course, then go to live stream. Fahima is saying on our message board, Reverend Al, although they haven't named an alternative to Jeffries as speaker, honestly, the issue many have with Jeffries is his support of AIPAC, who funded the ouster of Jamal Bowman and Cori Bush. Well, my answer to that, and Antoine give his own, is I supported in many ways both. I known Jamal since he started, always gave him access, always supported him, and Cori Bush. But the question is, how do you tell us to give veto power to an unnamed candidate? How do we know they're not going to come up with somebody that is against our interests? I may disagree with Hakeem on 5 out of 100 things, but they may come with somebody that I don't agree with 50% of it. Because on our issues, whether it has been criminal justice, whether it has been voter protection, whether it's been economic rights and economic parity, all these issues, Hakeem has not only stood up for, he's fought for. Hakeem has been a member of National Action Network 20 years, and I know him.
Do we disagree on some foreign policy? Yes. But I disagree with Obama on some foreign policy. But I supported Obama. I'm not asking for somebody to be 100%. I'm asking them to be more than above board with my interests. And for somebody to tell me to go against somebody that has been there, for somebody they have not named, is an insult to my intelligence. You might come up with somebody that's obnoxious. That has never been. The other problem I got with that, Fahim, is I've been out here a long time fighting. And I can tell you some of these well-known national progressives have never been in our fights. Never been to a rally, never been to a march, never put legislation in, never supported reparations. So let me get this right. We mad at Hakeem because he has a position different than some of us at Israel, but it's all right for them to be against reparations? It don't count with me. Now, it may be all right with some. It don't count with me. Do you want to respond to any of that, Antoine?
Both Cori Bush and Jamal Bowman in their primaries, respectfully. While I hear some people make these internet arguments about Leader Jeffries, and with all due respect, we have the ability to dialogue and have a conversation. But what I would say to those people is that when was the last time you've heard of a Republican upset or bothered by the type of money that Mike Johnson took? When have you ever seen a Republican upset with the type of money and support that Donald Trump has taken? And these people are in charge of our country. They have united around a cause, and that's to stop our progress, to block us from making progress in America, but they're united in that front. We've got to learn to glean some lessons from them. And no matter what the disagreements we may appear to have amongst each other, Reverend Al Sharpton, they do not compare to the differences or disagreements we have with the other side. And so if you are bothered by AIPAC and whatever position Jeffries may have not taken in the past or currently, then you should be just as bothered by what this current administration is doing amongst our people. And you've got to decide whether you're going to let Jeffries' AIPAC money stop you from supporting the first African-American speaker and someone who has our values and positions at top of mind.
Let's go to the phones. Let's go to Deborah in Atlanta, Georgia. You're keeping it real with Al Sharpton. Is Deborah there?
Hi, yes, I can hear you. Thanks for taking my call. So the ladies that I want to say would be Harriet Tubman, Susan B. Anthony, and Lucy Pearl. Lucy Pearl is my mom, basically. So those are the three women in reference to this month for history. Now, there was a caller that called in and asked in reference about the 13-year-old in reference to Donald Trump. That is not allegedly. Those are facts. It is documented. They've been knew about it. The biggest thing as to why I think that Donald Trump started a war is because once Bill Clinton testified in front of Congress, there was no talking left, there was no resolution left, there was no left wing, right wing. The only thing America was going to want and everybody around the world was for Donald Trump to go in front of Congress. And that is why we're at war. Instead of his punk ass going to Congress, he sent our troops to war. Nobody can tell me differently. Absolutely no one can tell me differently. And then when we think about this, I also blame Congress because anybody can see the writing on the wall. If they're going to keep this maniac in office, they need to restrict him of certain powers. They need to stop being retroactive or after the fact. They need to start being and do what they need to do now. If they don't have the know-how or the backbone to impeach him, impeach Kristi Noem, impeach Pam Bondi, they need to restrict them of their powers. How far do we have to go as Americans? And I'm asking you, gentlemen, how you feel about this also. Because there was no out for him. He had to testify in front of Congress. Once you had a president, Bill Clinton, who was president before, his wife who ran for president, the only thing left for him to do was to go in front of Congress. And I don't even think, and I'm thinking about the president of Venezuela that he kidnapped. I'm wondering, people, did he do it for him to go to trial, or did he do it to protect him? Because when Donald Trump comes to Georgia, he goes to the 14th district where all of the fentanyl, most of the human trafficking and sex trafficking takes place in District 14. And I am so sick of that same black man calling in here about Marjorie Taylor Greene. Marjorie Taylor Greene is not going to hold any other office in the state of Georgia. We don't need to talk about nothing that she's doing now. If we look at her track record and we understand that she was the #1 cheerleader in reference to Donald Trump getting in office now. How you are so easy to turn your head, to look the other way, to forgive and forget about the people who put you in the circumstances that you are in now. I don't understand that. How do you men feel about that? How do you feel about inviting the same person to the table when there are people at the table that are no longer there because of this person? And a lot of these people are gone away from us.
When you
So
say, wait a
wait.
minute. When you say,
Okay,
how do we feel about inviting a person?
Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead. I'm just
Yeah,
I want to make sure I know who you're talking about. Go ahead.
No, I have nothing against you gentlemen. I don't. I wish more women would call in too. When we have someone who calls in and who glorifies Marjorie Taylor Greene, whatever she is saying now could not even stand next to all the harm that she has done against
Well, let me say
Americans.
this. Let me say this, Deborah, and I thank you for your call. I said that I'm not announcing for a while the speakers and plenary speakers and workshops at NAN's convention, and we already have several thousand people, maybe over the limit, I'm told, that signed up. But I can tell you who's not going to be there. I'm not inviting Marjorie Taylor Greene. I can guarantee you that. So that's what I feel about it. I think that I don't know what happened with Marjorie Taylor Greene and Trump, but she did enough damage to us for me to say, y'all got that. That's their fight. I'm not in that fight. And I'm not, so you ain't got to worry about my positions. Antoine can speak for himself. Secondly, let me say that I'm getting some email, on the message board. Democracy.fund says, thank you, Rev. Never be afraid to name names. Bernie Sanders, the leader of the Progressive Caucus, endorsed Tulsi Gabbard and John Fetterman. His most recent endorsement, Graham Plattner. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. And I respect some of what Bernie Sanders does, but I don't respect other things he does. And he's got the right to say the same thing about me. But you can't hold a litmus test to us and not have that for them. And then they run around telling progressive, well, don't listen to the old guard. Bernie Sanders is 14 years older than me. So they divide the black activists with age and roll grandpa around. I mean, what, we supposed to be stupid? Let's take a break. We'll be right back. Keeping it real. That's what I do. Sharpton. That's my name. C-Right is my little brother.
She was the mother of this nation. Why would you say that, Sharpton? Because you called George Washington the father of the nation, but when he became father, we wasn't included in the nation. Women were not included in the nation. The first time we had a parent in this nation is when all of us was included, and Rosa Parks did that on December 1st, 1955. I heard somebody say Jim Crow is who she fought, and Jim Crow is still around. But Jim Crow is old. That's not who I'm mindful of today. The problem is Jim Crow has sons. The one we got to battle is James Crow Jr. Esquire. He's a little more educated. He's a little slicker. He's a little more polished. But the results are the same.
He doesn't put you in the back of the bus. He just puts referendums on the ballot to end affirmative action when you can't go to school. He doesn't call you, erase your name. He just marginalizes your existence. He doesn't tell you that he's set against you. He sets up institutional racism, where you have a nation respond looking for weapons in Iraq that are not there, but can't see a hurricane in Louisiana that is there. James Crow Jr. Esquire. That's who we got to fight. And if we are to win, if we are to really memorialize Rosa Parks, she would tell us to do in the generation of his son what she and Dr. King did to his daddy. They didn't talk a fight, they fought the fight. They didn't show up at funerals, they showed up on the picket line and the march line and the jailhouse. It amazes me that we sit there acting like we don't have work to do. And that many of us in our own community are mocking her memory. They formed a movement when they had none of what we got. You realize that Dr. King and Dr. Abernathy and them formed a boycott after Rosa Parks, where people stayed off the bus for a year, went to rallies every night, and they never had email, never had a cell phone, never could go online. Here you got 2 cell phones in your pocket, emails, computers at the house, and can't even get a block association meeting together. We've got so much more that they gave us, and we're doing so much less with it. They went to vote when people were threatening their lives. Medgar Evers was shot dead in his driveway, left 3 children inside that never knew how it was to have a father in their adult years, died to give us the right to vote. Pregnant women marched through the streets of Birmingham. They sick police dogs on them to give us the right to vote. 4 little girls bombed in a church in Birmingham, Alabama to give us the right to vote. And here you are 40 years later in Detroit, Michigan. No dogs biting you, no bombs going off, no bullets, too lazy and ungrateful. Making mockery of her memory. Making mockery of her memory. Nobody should have to beg you to vote. Nobody should have to beg you to stand up and protect the rights that they died and suffered to give us. You can't take care of one thing on the ballot in Michigan when they had to change the laws of all 50 states. You complaining about one referendum when they did a whole revolution and never fired one shot. And then you turn it around on each other. Why do I want my daughters to visit that stone? Because I want them to know black women are not hoes. You have music companies selling misogynist records to our children. Black womanhood was Rosa Parks sitting in dignity. She wasn't break dancing. She wasn't talking about pimp me out. She made the world respect her people. So I want to thank Reverend Jackson and Mrs. Jackson and others that taught us a little younger who Rosa was. And
We got to pass that on. I want to challenge everybody here today that when we leave here, you ought to make a Rosa resolution. You ought to make one commitment in her name to yourself. That you're going to either join some organization or you're going to stand for some policy. You ought to make a Rosa resolution. You ought to resolve that you're going to do something that'll make a difference because we're here because she made a difference. Most people come and go and we never come to say goodbye because their hellos didn't mean anything to us. But we're here because she touched every one of us. And we need to make a Rosa resolution. I said to some of the young rappers the other day talking to me about, well, you get on us about calling women out their names. I said you need to come and know the story of a dignified woman. They make the excuse, Mayor Kilpatrick said, well, you know, we love Aretha and that generation, but we just kick it like we see it. We just mirrors that reflect what we see. But there's something strange about that. I use a mirror every morning. But I don't get up out the bed, hair all over my head, sleep around my eyes, slobber around my mouth, walk outside talking about I'm going to keep it real. Mirrors are not only to reflect what you see, mirrors are to correct what you see. You need to make a Rosa resolution that we're going to correct what we see. We're going to keep the fight going. And we're going to have James Crow Jr. Esquire know that we are the children of those that change the world. My Rosa resolution is they won't have no rest until we finish the fight. Wherever I see an injustice, I'm going to stand up. If I can't stand up, I'm going to speak out. And if I can't speak out, I'm going to do like a Rosa. I'm going to get me a chair and just sit in the way.
You're live.
Keeping it real. Keeping it real. Keeping it real. Keeping it real. I'm your host, Reverend Sharpton, and we're back. 1-877-532-5797. Or you can go to the message page at www.nationalactionnetwork.net. Antoine Seawright is our co-host. Trisha's writing on the message boards. They keep talking about Representative Crockett jumping into the primary, Tallarico, but they forget Colin Allred was already in the race when Tallarico jumped in. That's true, and they redrew the lines. And that's what we're fighting, some redistricting lines, which the whole redistricting fight started there in Texas. That's very, very true. Let's go to phones, Antoine. Minister 50 in Pennsylvania. Minister 50, you're keeping it real with Al Sharpton.
Hey, how you doing, Rev?
Doing fine. How are you?
Praise God. I'm calling from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. I'm originally from Camden, New Jersey, where Dr. King spent a lot of his early days in the 50s. And just a perspective on what's going on. You know, the tide is turning. You know, everything is... The main problem I think that we have to adjust to is focusing on our voter apathy. And then we can target a plan, that we can utilize, that'll help us to engage the the ordinary person that thinks that their vote doesn't matter. And I hear too much about my vote doesn't matter. I know it's old, but a great slogan, I'm also an alpha man, and a great slogan that we coined was a voteless people is a hopeless people. And that's very true. But I mentioned my three famous ladies, which I say is Harriet Tubman, Rosa Parks, and Michelle Obama. Now, of course, you always have to have an honorable mention, Crockett, and, of course, my mother, Joan Troop.
All right.
But, yeah, I think the main thing, Rev, as far as immediately what we have to focus on is this election in 2026, because we could talk about policy, or we could talk about what, the other side is doing wrong, but we have to realize that until we get in a position to dictate policy, we're always going to be kicking the can down the road. So I think it stops right here in 2026. And, of course, it's funny that your program is called Keepin' It Real, Rev, because this is true story. I'll never lie to you, being a pastor, praise God. My slogan out of high school in 1978, thinking about your young son there, the young Antoine, was keep it real. I was 18 years old, didn't know that I had the vision that I had, being 66 now, pastor, praise God. But that's something that we all have to focus on, possibly, to get through, the times that we're in, because everything is, reverse type of ideology, up is down and down is up. But I think, keeping it real and the NAN network, Rev, has kept us focused on what we really need to do in the trenches. And I do want to thank you, good brother. I'm 66 now, so I do have socks older than Antoine. I am a comedian also. And, but you being, my
it's interesting
now,
you said that. Yeah, I'm just a few years older than you, but we seen a lot. And so you may not know it yet because we're older guys. You have socks older than Antoine. I've seen Antoine out with no socks on at all. He don't wear socks sometimes. All right, let me
Yes, sir.
let me go to the sage of the South. See, us old guys be talking about socks. Antoine be saying, "What's that?" Let me go to the sage of the South, Brother Jihad. Brother Jihad, you're keeping it real with Sharpton and C-Right.
Well, I'm not worried about Antoine. I know he got some Vaseline on the Look here, Reverend Al. Who's this pushing the anti-Speaker Jeffries? Who is it?
I've heard it from some. I'm not going to say all. Some of the progressives, and I do, and I think Antoine can cite. They have run at least two candidates I heard of saying that they're running to unseat a member of the Black Caucus because they will vote against Hakeem being the speaker.
Wow, that's amazing. How could a man manage in a position that has less power but can't manage when he gets power?
Right.
This is ridiculous. This is totally ridiculous, and we need to make this an issue. Let's not wait until it gets blown, until they decide to blow it up and derail us. But this man definitely deserves to rule once we gain power again. And part of the effort to push the rule is that he's going to be the one in power. You know what I'm talking about? He's going to be the one.
You raise a good point.
We go again with those one-issue voters.
Yeah, but you raise a good point. I think that we need to make it an issue because one of the things, I'm glad you said that, Jihad. One of the things, Antoine, I may need to do is I'm going to ask publicly for Bernie Sanders and AOC and all of the progressives to say they are supporting Hakeem. That's how you do that. I know that Zoran Mandani just came out and said, I support him for re-election, so the Progressive had to drop out the race. And Mandani's supposed to be DSA, Democratic Socialist. And one of the things we told him, you can't go against Hakeem, and he didn't. He endorsed Hakeem. So maybe the answer to that is to get some of those progressives nationally that want us to work with them, is to say, you got to come out publicly and say Hakeem needs to be Speaker.
Oh, I think that's great, Reverend. I think let's put the ink on the paper. And quite frankly, what they're trying to do quietly, and I say they because at the end of the day, look, we're all in this fight together, is when you run, quote-unquote, Democratic, so when you run Justice Democrats who've known to be against not only CBC members, but certain other, more moderate members of our caucus, when you run them in primaries against CBC members and so forth, not only are they trying to unseat CBC members, but they're trying to undermine what the future of the caucus look like. If we get to be in the majority and they make up, and they have, they have a decent grip on the caucus, then that undermines Jeffrey's agenda if he does not kowtow to them. We don't need that. We saw how that can be when Pelosi was the speaker.
Mm-hmm. And not only that, we on the one issue voters. If you saw what Donald Trump did with the health man, the Kennedy guy, right?
Yeah, Robert
the Kennedy guy was running for. Yeah, he was running for in the Democratic Party.
Right.
Then he switched over, and Donald Trump made him the face of medicine for the Republican Party.
Yeah, made him second.
I'm not saying make Marjorie Greene the face, but I'm saying use some intellect. If you're going to use her, if we can use her to diminish the power of Trump and the influence of Trump, then let's use her. I'm not saying put her in a position, not put her in a powerful position, but don't cut her off. Encourage her to do what she's doing. That's an asset. That's not a negative.
Yeah, well, that is strategic use. That's strategic use.
Yeah, it's strategic. And the same thing with Newsom. Newsom makes a statement, and now we want to say he's hating black people, and he's saying we all dumb and stupid. Come on, man, one statement that can go either way. You know what I mean? We're developing a habit of killing allies.
Yeah.
And we need allies. You know what I'm talking about?
If we're going to win, you got to have allies. You got to be strategic more than emotional. And James Thomas is writing in, David Hodge is one of them. He's trying to unseat one of the CBC members in North Carolina. Is that that's the young man with the anti-gun thing? I did not know that. All right, give me the information. That's why we keep it real. I got to look into that. We need to put a little spotlight on that. Let's take a break. Be right back. Keeping it real, keeping it real, keeping it real. Sharpton. See right. Be right back. Yeah. And act like you got there because you were qualified or that you had a good resume. But some of us had to pay a price for your resume to even be read. Some of us had to take nights in jails and licks upside the head or shut out of boardrooms like Byron so you could walk down red carpets and act like you got there by yourself. So I received this award with a special place in my heart and on my shelf because I'm getting it from a freedom fighter who never forgot where he came from and how he got there. Yes, we've come a long way. We've had now a black president and now a black vice president, but we still can get shot down and have to march to get a case in court. We still can get shut out of boardrooms. We're still doubly unemployed in a good economy. So we're going to have to keep marching. And I thank not only my family, a mother that raised me by herself, but I thank that lady at the end of the march that knows she won't be on TV that night and knows her name will never be in the paper, but she believed in me enough to get at the end of the line and make me look good. Because Dr. King used to say, if you call a march and no one shows up, you just going for a walk. And I want to thank those that marched with me. 32 years ago, here in Los Angeles, we marched. And then many years later, with George Floyd and others, we're still marching. And I'm going to keep marching. I'm going to keep agitating. And I'm going to keep going. Until we don't have to do it anymore. Eddie, known you a long time. Mariah, Chris, and your kids. And I promise you this. The only thing that I really live for is I get up with this dream that every bigot, every racist, everyone in this country that hates will say, damn, he's up again. Many people cannot focus because they have not really come to terms with their calling and life purpose. In order to focus, you must also be clear on what you're focusing on. So if you're not clear on your purpose, if you're not clear on your life's calling, then focus on seeking that. Because if you just read the ways and roads you traveled that you didn't even choose, that were sort of just laid out for you by God, in that it's telling you, speaking to you about what your purpose is and what you were born to do and be. I learned the things that I didn't plan had to be planned by God, and God's plan was directed toward God's purpose in my life. And I focus on that. Not focus on what others do, not focus on how well they're doing or bad they're doing, but focus on whether I'm in line and aligned with what I'm supposed to be about. And in order to move straight ahead, you have to be focused on the path you're running on.
Reverend Sharpton, how do we begin to make peace with our past?
I don't think it's our obligation to make peace with our past. I think it's our obligation to learn from our past and to understand that soon we gonna be the past. I mean, a lot of us act like we gonna be permanent and that the past is the past. If we draw on the strengths of the past and uphold the dignity and the integrity of our people, and then perform it at our highest level in our generation, as Dr. Moss said, that's our obligation. You know, one of the reasons that I've been so concerned about this cultural tone that we're in now is a lot of us have lost the dignity that our community has shown from Jamestown to now. I've questioned some of the artists that no longer sing to uplift us. And there's never been a generation that didn't use our music and our culture to lift us up. And the excuse is where they say, well, we just want to show what's there. But we never just accepted what was there. We always looked at what was there and looked through it and brought our people the way it needed to be. So in slavery time, we were singing Go Down Moses and Swing Low Sweet Chariot. We wasn't singing about the cotton picking nigga in the field. That's what we saw, but that's not what we sang. In slavery, in segregation time, we were singing We Shall Overcome. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. We wasn't singing the hoe in the back of the bus. So where is this coming from? And that's what we need to challenge. I wish, all of this about our friend Barack announced it today. I wish Obama had announced here, because Lincoln did not free us. The abolitionist movement freed us. Lincoln accommodated to freedom fighters. He was not a freedom fighter. Kennedy accommodated the king. Johnson accommodated the king. We got to quit giving the wrong people credit for our history.
Because, I grew up, like I said, single mama on welfare. And my mother told me there's a part in life that hope's gonna run out. But she told me you got a double barrel in your engine. I said, what is that? She said, you can switch from hope to faith. Faith is a little deeper than hope. Bishop Hilly is here. Faith is when hope runs out. Faith is the substance of things. Hope for the evidence of things not seen. Faith is when we were emancipated after 246 years of slavery and walked off the plantation with no education, no money, no future. We built.
Keeping it real, keeping it real. I am your host, Reverend Al Sharpton. Antoine Seawright is our co-host. Don't forget, this Saturday and Sunday, we're back on Politics Nation with Al Sharpton. I'll be live at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Both Saturday and Sunday have a lot of catching up to do. The Iran war preempted some of our shows over the weekend, but we are definitely back on this Saturday and Sunday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. And no matter where we are with the Iran situation, and we're going to have a lot to talk about what happens in Texas tomorrow, what happens in North Carolina in terms of the primaries, where are we with the whole, no one's talking about the Affordable Care Act and the fact that they still have not come to terms with funding or not funding of the ICE and the Homeland Security. A lot to talk about. So make sure you tune in. I had a lot of senators and Congress people booked for this week, but we got preempted, but we will be on next week. So tell everybody all week long, Politics Nation with Al Sharpton. Live at 5. We'll be returning this Saturday and Sunday. And you that are in the New York area, Saturday action rally at Mother AME Zion. We'll be announcing probably about next week the date and location that we're moving and opening the new National Action Network House of Justice. But we thank Mother AME Zion, Reverend Malcolm Byrd, for letting us be there for Black History Month and part of Women's History Month. National Action Network National Convention. I'm told we're right at the border of having to close it, but you that have not signed up better sign up today. This might be the last day because we're well near the 5,000 mark. I'm trying to pre-register 5,000 a month out, and we're not even a month out yet. We're only at the 2nd of March, and we start the 8th through the 11th. If we can hold it 5,000 and then hold a few thousand seats for the students that we're bringing from the HBCUs and our chapters. Register now. Go to www.nationalactionnetwork.net, www.nationalactionnetwork.net, or you can go to the toll-free number 1-877-626-4651, 1-877-626-4651. Antoine, one of the things that I think is lost in this weekend attack in Iran is that we've not seen a resolve in terms of the funding issues in the Senate and the House, including where we are with the Affordable Care Act and where we are with DHS funding. Talk about that.
Well, it's no accident that when the pressure heats up on the Epstein files, it's no accident when we're about to hit this real cliff, according to all the medical experts, between March and April, when people's insurance expires and people without premiums are no longer able to obtain those benefits. We're about to hit a real cliff in the medical profession. And it's certainly no accident that DHS continues to be on shutdown along with some other agencies because they do not want to put serious reforms to ICE. And at the same period of time, the president is talking about how to not have an election or asking lawyers to seek ways to not have an election all of a sudden, overnight, without consent of Congress, we bomb Iran. And so I don't think any of these things are on accident. We know that Donald Trump is a taskmaster. When I say taskmaster, I mean he's mastered the art of distracting the news cycle and the American people from the very thing that's going to impact them directly. And with this attack on Iran, you're going to see the price of gas go out of the roof,
right,
Reverend Al. And so we're going to add to the already existing affordability crisis that Republicans have created and built on since they've been in office. And so I think it's important for us in this program, as you have always been masterful at, and others, to make certain that we don't get distracted by the one thing that he wants us chasing the news. Instead, keep our eyes on the prize, as John Lewis would say, and stay focused on the very things that's going to bring us about electoral success.
Stephanie Humphrey Chanel says at James Thomas, thanks for the info for clarity. Hodge, this is the young man that is not running for office, but backing candidates through his PAC, leaders we deserve. Okay, that's good clarity. And I think we need to hold everybody accountable. Let me go back to the phones. Let me go to Richmond, Virginia, to Sky. Sky, you keeping it real with Sharpton and C-Rack.
Yes, sir. Now that we're at war, Mr. Sharpton, I'm like this. Who's going to protect us from the enemy within the United States, which is Donald Trump? Donald Trump is anti-America. He doesn't have our welfare he doesn't really want to do anything for the American people. First of all, he said Iran would never have a nuclear missile, but yet China and Russia, they all have those nuclear missiles that have the capability of coming down in the United States at any given time. So, and then with the oil, he wants the oil from Iran. That's the bottom line with this situation, and give it to China, which Venezuela got the oil from, Russia got the oil from Venezuela. And my thing is, right now, Donald Trump, I looked at the Foreign magazine for 2026. Donald Trump was basically, not say penniless, but had millions of dollars, from my understanding. When I looked at the Foreign magazine, he's worth $6.4 billion. Now, you know he probably got hidden funds and everything, and the hidden funds that, if you really look at it, he probably worth maybe at least $50 billion. But he's all about the money at this particular time. But we really need to step ahead because he's our enemy, and now we are so vulnerable. I mean, I'm really living in a lot of fear, and not only that, these tobacco and vape stores, which is ran by a lot of those radical people from over there in Iran, Iraq, the Arabics. I'm hearing people just talking in general that they get ready to react in the United States, that, you know, they don't strategically place these stores in certain areas, and now they're just waiting on the sign for, I guess, Allah, whoever, the radical people that they are, and we are in some serious trouble right now. And the election, I went to the registrar office to try to find out some information about the zoning. They say the judge Hart.
Hello? What happened? What happened?
I hear you on the radio. You hear anything in your ear, sir?
Yeah, but I don't know if I'm on the air.
You still out there? They can't. Can you hear Dallas? They can't hear you.
I can't hear down. Do you have their number? Yeah. Call them and ask them, are we on the air? around this is so wicked. Now they're going to, they released last night a memo that said that the FBI was investigating good. They're trying to come up with something on the victim. Not they gonna investigate who shot her. The ICE agent shooting in the head 3 times. They're gonna investigate her. And you wonder why we need movements. You wonder why we need to stand up. Hakeem Jeffries was here Monday. Why we need to deal with this midterm election. Well, Reverend,
they can hear me.
I get calls on my radio.
There seems to be something
well, I
happening
don't see where votes
our
change.
transmission,
Well,
but if you
let
can
me
hear
tell you
me,
where
let me
if
say
they lose the
that
Congress.
I think that we've got to be very careful and extremely careful. If y'all can hear me, put that on the message board because I can't hear anything in Dallas. But if y'all can hear me, say, yes, I can hear you on the message board. Okay, good. I see you, Saint. We've got to be very careful that we not be distracted, that we not be eliminated, and that we are not tricked against our interests. One of the reasons I have the convention every year is because I want people to come and answer our issues and be very transparent and on the record. And a lot of people that call themselves whatever they want to call themselves, woke, progressive, and are unaccountable as the conservatives on the other side. And I think that it is absolutely, I think it is not only necessary, it ought to be mandatory that we be clear-eyed. I do not have a problem with coalitions, but a coalition means you got to represent what I believe I need for my community, and I'll support other issues. But coalition don't mean you write the agenda, and I'm just a couple of black dots that make up your parade. I'm not doing that. I'm not looking for better slave masters. I'm looking for freedom. And I do not think that people that want to dictate to us and in any way, shape, or form in a position to be treated by us with any respect. All right, let me get ready to go. I think there are some technical differences, but I see that some people say they hear me and see me, so I will be on tomorrow. Let me thank Antoine Seawright. Let me thank all of you that called in, listened in, you that called in and couldn't get through, but hung in there anyhow. Remember, whatever you do, wherever you go, however you feel, tell somebody, tell anybody, tell everybody. Reverend Al told you personally, keep it real. Keep it real. Keep it real.